then the outcome will be uncertain. Did you get me? Uh, did you get this? Okay, perfect, perfect. So after this, you said 25, right? Let's go to 25. What is question 25 saying? In the diagram, Mn is the production possibility curve of a country that has a comparative advantage in the production of Y. So country Mn, right? And this is production of Y. Okay, fair enough. What might enable a country to consume the quantities of X and Y indicated by point R? Okay, increase specialization in the production of good Y. C. Oh, just a second. Either it can be C or a D. A reduction in unemployment, increase specialization in production of good X, increase specialization. Just a second. R. It says R. So I think it should be C. It's D. Okay. Increase specialization in the production of good Y. Right. It's D. Right. More participation in international trade. Okay, so students, do you remember Arbab and Elsa? Do you remember we were talking about this? So what is production possibility curve showing us? So production possibility curve shows us how much is what the country can produce. How much is what the country can produce. If a country has to operate outside, its PPC, right? If a country has to operate outside its production possibility curve, then it has to engage in international trade. Does it make sense? Right? Does it make sense? Okay, think about this. So now I was confused that if the country is specializing, I was confused between C and D. If the country is specializing in Y, that automatically means that it will trade. Are you getting me? So if a country is specializing in good Y, it automatically means that it will trade. But obviously the answer could have been like more explicit response to that was, right, that it should engage in international trade, right? Arbab, think about this. So how come you consume more? How come you consume more if you are, how come you consume more compared to what you are producing? The idea is that when you trade with another country, your imports will be relatively cheaper compared to those domestic goods. Let me put it in simple words. Why would any person ever import a product? Why would you ever import a good? Think about it. Why would you import a product from any other country? Just give me a simple explanation. Why don't you buy it from the local market? Why don't you buy it from the local market? What's the biggest reason, attraction for importing something from another country? Right? We want good quality. That is one thing. Even more basic than that. Quality is important, branded. Price, exactly, right? So if you're importing anything from Amazon, if you're importing anything from another country, what it basically means that that product would be most probably cheaper than what's being produced in Pakistan, right? So that is the reason for that. And when you're importing a cheaper product, so with the same resources that you have, you can consume more. Students, are you following me? Does this make sense? Or the derivative has, so no point. No, Arbab, obviously, at the moment, we're not considering the transportation cost, but even the transportation costs have reduced quite a lot. Even the transportation costs have been reduced quite a lot due to recent discovery in all the technology and the faster transportation that we have. But you're right, obviously that should be a concern. Sometimes the delivery charges and the transaction costs are so high that we don't import. But that is mainly because of the customs and the tariffs. That's not because, so if no country ever has customs or tariff, you will always find that products that are in a foreign country are cheaper because there will be no hidden charges, as we say, there are no hidden charges, right? So those products will be kind of cheaper to you. Make sense? Are you getting me? So that is what I was trying to explain, that when a country engages in international trade, then it can technically consume more. So the product that it doesn't has, it can, right? It can buy more of that good, and overall its consumption function would be higher than its production function. Its consumption function would be higher than its production function. Does it make sense? Students, are you following me? Right? So that is what you need to remember, right? So I was confused with C and D. So I was thinking that obviously C indicates to the fact that increased specialization in production of good would mean that the country would trade, but a more explicit explanation would be more participation in international trade. So always remember, operating outside PPC is only possible when a country engages in international trade. Operating outside PPC. What is PPC? Production possibility. What does it show? How much can you produce? So if a country wants to consume more than what it can produce, you have to engage in international trade. You have to engage in international trade. Confusion? Right? We good? Okay. Now, let's move to the next question then. Okay, very good. 25 and then you said 27, right? Was it 27, the next one? Ilsa? Okay, yes, perfect. So which statement about trade protection is correct? Which statement about trade protection is correct? A tariff will result in a greater decrease in demand for an import the lower its price elasticity of demand is. Embargoes are only an effective trade barrier against imports in price elastic demand. Export subsidies to domestic firms will prevent dumping of foreign products in the domestic market. Quotas are less effective than tariffs for raising government revenue. Okay, that should be simple. What do you think? Arwa, what do you think is the answer? Read it again. Read it again. You also read it again. Elsa, just read one more time and then I'll explain you why the answer is what it is. You chose the same? Okay, so the answer is D. Yes, the answer is D. Exactly. Now think about this. Let's read each of these statements one by one and explain you as we move through. A tariff will result in greater decrease in demand for an import the lower its price elasticity of demand is, right? Obviously, that's incorrect because tariff is a tax. So the more elastic it is, the more elastic the price elasticity of demand is, the greater the decrease, right? Because then it will be more sensitive. Consumers will be. Now, okay, you guys are saying C. Let me explain you C first. What was the question you asked? No. A quota is a limit on the quantity. Arbab, quota is a limit on the quantity that you can import. So if I say Pakistan has a quota of 5 lakh cars per year, so Pakistanis cannot import more than 5 lakh cars in a year. Yes or no? Right? Whereas tariff are a tax. Tariff is a tax. Tariff is 10%, 15%. That means that on all the items that you're importing, you will pay 10% or 20% on top of the price to the government. That is what tariff is. Now, why is C incorrect? Export subsidies to domestic firms. Now, think about it. What is export subsidy? First, tell me what is an export subsidy. What is an export subsidy? Export subsidy is a financial payment that the government is giving to industries that are exporting. So in Pakistan, agriculture is major export. In Pakistan, sports equipment is a major export. In Pakistan, surgical instruments is a major export. So when government is giving subsidies, financial payments to these industries, that is export subsidy. And what is dumping? Dumping is when China, sorry to always associate China with dumping, but dumping is when China sells its products below the cost. When China sells its products at very low cost in foreign countries, so that it creates a monopoly in the long run, right? So how would export subsidies just promote your exports? Export subsidies only promote your exports because it makes your products more price competitive. Yes or no? And dumping, on the other hand, is when a foreign country like China is selling its products at less than cost to Pakistan. How would export subsidy control dumping? How many of you are clear on this? Clear, not clear? Right. So I'll explain B. So Ilsa, did you get the answer for C? Did you get the answer for D? Quota less effective than tariff. Quota is a quantity. So on quota, government is not getting any money. Government is not receiving any money. Quota is a limit on the quantity that you can import. Whereas tariff is a tax. So when tax is imposed, obviously government revenue increases. But when quota is imposed, you don't get any money. Export subsidies. Okay. So you're saying B, embargoes are only effective. What is an embargo? First tell me, what is an embargo? Embargo is a complete ban. Embargo is a complete ban, right? So let's say the two countries that are facing embargo nowadays is Iran and North Korea, because obviously UN imposed sanctions on them because they are accused of making nuclear weapons and so on and so forth and blah, 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 right? So embargo is only effective trade barrier against imports in price elastic demand. No, when there is a complete ban. So if Pakistan today says that we impose embargo against Iran or Afghanistan or any other country, right? Then this means that we are not trading with them at all. So any product coming to Afghanistan, any product going to Afghanistan cannot happen. Yes, complete ban. Very good. Very good. Elsa, did you get this? So embargoes are not effective trade barrier against price elastic. They are effective trade barrier against every product because there's no trade at all. Right? Do remember. So quota is a limit on the quantity. Tariff is a tax like GST, 10%, 15%, and embargo is a complete ban, not trading with that country at all. Right? Easy. Can you move to the next question? So the next one you said is 29. Got it. China has US dollars 155 billion current account surplus in 2020, right? Which combination of policies might the Chinese government use to reduce the surplus? Okay, very nice. Decrease income tax and raise the value of Chinese currency. Okay, surplus. So yeah, okay. Increase income tax, and lower the value. No. Increase subsidy Chinese firm. No. Increase tariff. No. A. Is it A? Yeah. Okay. So think about this, Ilsa. The idea is simple. Think about this. When you decrease income tax, let's break it down. When you decrease income tax, what will people do? People have more disposable incomes. People have more disposable income. So gross income, if you remember, I did tell you. So gross income is basically how much you earn, how much your employer is paying you, right? And then you subtract from that, the income tax, right? And that gives you disposable income, which means this is the amount that is available for you to spend, right? Gross income. Now this is really, really annoying, right? So gross income minus taxes is your disposable income, right? Now, when taxes are being reduced, right? And the Chinese, so what will people do? People will import more. They have more disposable income. They have higher purchasing power, so they will import more. One thing. Secondly, when the value of Chinese currency is increasing, right now, one of the biggest advantages that China has against other countries in the world is that their currency is very weak. So think about this. If $1 buys you, right, let's say 10 yuan, right? So if at the moment $1 buys you, right, 10 yuan, and then in future, if $1 buys you 5 yuan, right, 5 yuan, are you following me? Right? So then in that case, now each dollar would buy you less. And therefore, your exports will become more expensive for foreigners. Your exports will become more expensive for your foreigners, and therefore they will buy less from you. Is it making sense? Is this simple? Is this clear? Any confusion? Anything that's not clear? Right? We good on this? Can you move to the next question? Right, very good, excellent. Okay, who didn't understand? Okay, so Ilsa, think about this. So the idea is, think about this. So when your currency raise the value of Chinese currency, think about this. If $1 at the moment is buying you 10 yuans, right? One currency is buying 10 yuans, right? So for $1 that the American converts, they buy goods worth 10 yuans in China. Easy, right? As opposed to that, if Chinese currency becomes stronger, then $1 will buy something less. $1 might buy 5 yuans. $1 might buy 5 yuans. Now, for Americans, Chinese products have become more expensive. So when it has become more expensive, so they will not import from China. They will not buy a lot from China. And therefore, the exports of China will decrease, whereas the imports of China will increase. Imports of China will increase, right? Is making sense? So that is what that would do, right? Is this clear? Absolutely clear. Is it absolutely clear, or still there is any doubt about that? So always remember, weaker currency, more exports, less imports, and stronger currency, more imports, less exports. And that is what the government wanted to do. Reduce the surplus, right? Is this all? Was there any other question? Okay, if this is all, then we can start another paper. Do you have any questions above? So we still have good 15 minutes. If you have any questions, then we can start another paper. Just tell me which year. And we can do the macroeconomics, right? We can do the macroeconomics. Shall I open one? Okay, 21. Okay, fine. Which one are you saying? Okay, yeah, sure. Why not? May, June, 1. Right, here we go. Let me also open the marking scheme. Okay, so shall we do the macroeconomics, whichever you want me, right? Right. 7 and 13. Okay, perfect. Let's do that. 7. Okay, we did do that. This is the question. Okay, think about this. Okay, no problem. Let's do it again. In which market would equilibrium not be achieved at point E if price were above OP? That's very simple. Okay, think about this. So let's assume if the price is above OP, equilibrium is not achieved at E. That's what the question is saying. Right? Okay, so in the case of B, let's see at each case. I mean, that's the problem with the. When I do this, it doesn't write. When I do this, it does write sometimes. Okay, think about this. Okay, how about I choose this thing? Okay, now have a look at this. That's the problem now. Okay, so think about this. Bob, have a look at this. So if the price is above OP, so let's make a simple line above OP, simple. And then we'll see whether the equilibrium will be achieved at E or some other point, right? So I'm making the line, price line above OP, and then we'll see if the equilibrium will be achieved at E or not. That's what the question is asking. Now think about this. In the case of A, demand is greater than supply. When demand is greater than supply, what happens to price? Are you following me? When the demand, this is the demand curve. Sorry, this is a little, not clear. If the demand is greater than supply at price above OP, what will that do? Demand will be greater than supply. And when demand is greater than supply, what happens to price? Above? What happens to price when demand is above supply? That causes the price to rise, right? And when the price will rise, you will keep going above and above. You will keep going above, right? So price will keep rising and you will never come back to point E. You will never come back to point E. Is making sense? Right? So you will never come back to point E, right? In the case of B, now think about this. How is this different in the case of B? In the case of B, what is greater than what? Supply is greater than demand. At this price level, that I've drawn over here, at this price level, supply is greater than demand. So when supply is greater than demand, what happens? Prices fall. In the case of B, at this price level, the blue line that I've drawn, supply is greater than demand. So when supply is greater than demand, what happens to prices? Prices decrease, and you will come back to the equilibrium at point E. Yes or no? Same goes in C. Supply is greater than demand. At this price level, supply is greater than demand. This much is supply, this much is demand. So obviously price level will fall. Similarly, in this case, this much was supply, this much was demand. So price level will fall, equilibrium will come back to E. Similarly, in the case of E again, supply is greater, right? Demand is less. So when supply is greater and demand is less, what happens to prices? Prices fall, and you will come back to equilibrium E. Yes or no? But in the case of A, it's only that the demand is greater than supply and the price will keep rising, and you will not come back to the equilibrium E. Is it making sense? Above? So that is how you were supposed to solve this question. Right. Very good. Okay. So you said 11 and 13, or which one? 13. Okay, perfect. Sure. 13. Okay. The economics department of university calculates the price elasticity demand for a product of the local firm is between -1.1 and -1.3. Okay. Which decision should be justified by the research? Increase prices to increase profit. Invest in more capital to increase output. Reduce, reduce advertising to reduce cost. Reduce prices to increase revenue. Okay, just tell me one thing. Is the price elasticity of demand more elastic or less elastic? Is the price elasticity of demand, by looking at the values, right, is more elastic, less elastic? It's more elastic. Okay, you made this, yeah. So it's more elastic, right? Less elastic basically means inelastic. So as long as, ignoring the negative sign, as long as the value is greater than 1, it is more elastic. Ignoring the negative sign, as long as the value is greater than 1, it's more elastic. Now, what did I say about the elasticity? The answer should be D, right? Is the answer D? That whenever you have to increase revenue, so this is always true. For more elastic products, when you reduce price, your revenue increase. For more elastic goods, when you reduce price, your revenue increase. Right? And for less elastic, when you increase price, your revenue increase. Right. Yeah, that's the problem. So above, negative sign is only showing the negative relationship. So every time you calculate the elasticity, whether that be more elastic, less elastic, there will be a negative sign. And negative sign shows that there is a negative relationship between price and demand. So there is a negative relationship between prices and demand. When price is high, demand is less, and vice versa. Right? Yes or no? Is it making sense? Right? But as long as, ignoring the negative sign, the value is greater than 1, ignoring the negative sign, if the value is greater than 1, it is more elastic. Always remember, rule of thumb, more elastic, you reduce price to get more revenue. More elastic, reduce price, right? You reduce price to get, right, higher revenue. Reduce price, you get higher revenue, and vice versa. This was for more elastic. So in more elastic, you reduce price and you get more revenue. And for less elastic, you increase price and you get more revenue. Sorry about that, right? Comparison on virtual. Easy? We good on this? Is everyone clear on this? Okay, right. Now let's move on to the macroeconomics and let's start from the end. A country is experiencing a significant fall in unemployment, but its inflation rate remained low. 17. Okay, we can do 17. Fine, not a problem. Where is 17? Okay, a teenager received a check of $50 as birthday gift from her parents. The teenager paid the check into her savings account at the bank. Why? Why is this gift a transfer payment? It did not involve a cash payment. It transfers money from bank accounts. The parents did not spend their money. The teenager did not produce any output. Should be simple. What is a transfer payment? So transfer payment, Ilsa, let's give Ilsa a chance to answer that. The answer should be D. Yes. The reason why it's a transfer payment, above, is the answer D, is that against that value, against that, right, you you did not produce any output, right? About, think about what's transfer payment. Think about it. I'm earning something. I'm working at a, I don't know, I'm working in an organization, right? And that organization pays me income. But on that income, I have to pay income tax. Clear enough? Is the simple so far? Now, now what will that do? Now, from that money, from the tax that the government collects from my income, it gives to other deserving people, right? Let's say, I don't know, government makes home for homeless people, government provides food to, poor people and whatever, right? Now, that is not directly the money that they have earned from their work. That's not the money that they've earned from their work. That's an extra amount that someone else's income is generating an income from someone else. Are you getting me? So why is pension a transfer payment? Pension is a transfer payment because some people are working in the economy. Government charges them taxes, and from those taxes, government pay government pays to other deserving people, and that is what makes it a transfer payment, right? Easy. Okay. Any other question you have, Bob? So we have still 10 minutes. The question, we can do that. Okay, 27 last, no problem. I was just asking if you have one. Right, 27. Let's do 27 first then. Okay. In this recent budget, a government increased defense expenditure and also the amount spent on training that increased the productivity of the workforce. The initial equilibrium point is at X on the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply diagram. What should be the equilibrium? Okay, let me ask you the question. Bob, what happens when government is spending more? The first statement is said in recent budget, a government increased defense expenditure. Just focus on increased defense expenditure. Which is this? What component is this? What component is this? That is, right? That is G. So when government spending is increasing, your aggregate demand will shift from AD1 to AD2. Your aggregate demand curve will shift from AD1 to AD2. Very good, excellent, right? And when that happens, think about this. And when that happens, your productivity is also increasing. Your productivity, how do we know? Because it said that the productivity of workforce increases. So when there's more productivity, what would that do? When there's more productivity, your aggregate supply also shifts to the right. Right? So overall, this will switch to right, this will shift right, and overall your new equilibrium will be at C. Right? Ilsa, are you saying B? No, aggregate supply is increasing. Aggregate supply is increasing, so it will shift to the right. This is increase, and this way is increase in aggregate demand. Aggregate demand increase like this, and aggregate supply increase like this. Got it? Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, now let's start. Let's do some questions from the end. A country experienced a significant fall in unemployment, but its inflation rate remained low. Unemployment is falling, but inflation is staying low. What could explain this? Global competition prevented firms passing on higher costs. Increased spending on imports had lowered the exchange rate. There was a low level of spare capacity in the economy. Wage rates have increased by more than labor productivity. So what happens when unemployment falls? When unemployment falls, this means that more people are getting employed. So when more people are getting employed, what happens? They spend more. When they spend more, there's more demand pull inflation. There's more demand pull inflation. But the question said, unemployment is decreasing, but inflation is also low. Unlike what we would otherwise expect, that when unemployment falls, inflation will increase. But in this case, unemployment fell, unemployment fell. This means more people are working now. But even then, inflation did not rise. Inflation did not rise, right? So what could be the reason for that? out of these four options, what I want you to think about is that which of these will put a downward pressure on the prices? Which of these will put a downward pressure in the prices? Can you make a guess, Ilsa? I'm assuming, or Bob have already done this. So can you think about it? Which of these four statements will put a downward pressure on the prices? Yeah. So, okay. So think about this. Increased spending on imports and lower the exchange rate. When exchange rate is low, your imports will be expensive. When exchange rate is low, when exchange rates are low, right? What happens? Your imports are expensive. When your imports are expensive, especially the import of raw material, then it costs you more. Then it costs you more, right? So it costs you more. Got it? So that will just increase the inflation for you. C said that there was low level of spare capacity in the economy. What is spare capacity? Spare capacity is basically how much more can you produce, right? Spare capacity is how much more can you produce, right? Yes or no, right? So if you have more spare capacity, you have more ability to produce and your prices will be low. But when you have low spare capacity, your production capacity is low and therefore the prices will be higher. Are you following me? So when you have more spare capacity, then you can produce more output much more easily. And when you can produce more output much more easily, your prices will stay low because production is higher, supply is higher, right? So, but when it said that there is low spare capacity, so the prices should rise. So this is not, justifying what is happening in the question. And then in the end, it said wage rates have increased. We know whenever wage rates are increasing, that is demand pull inflation. When wage rates are increasing, what is that? That is demand pull inflation. Yes or no? Right? So, no, when rate cost push inflation, sorry, cost push, not demand pull, cost push inflation, right? So, global competition. How is the answer A? Global competition. Think about this. When there's more competition in anything, now giving you a simple example, now more firms are setting up online teaching platforms and all that stuff. So, if we are charging a higher price, where would you go? If we are charging a higher price, where would you go? You would go to obviously the competitors. So competition always keep the prices low, right? Exactly. So the answer should be A. Okay. Now, students, can we quickly discuss? We will also have an extra class on Saturday and Sunday. For the tomorrow class, can we discuss a paper? So tomorrow we don't have a class. Tomorrow it's the day for paper 3, right? But can we discuss? Can we decide on a paper that you will do on Saturday for the Saturday class and on Saturday and Sunday? Yeah. Let's choose 2 papers, and then you have, if you have any questions, we'll discuss those problems first and then we move to some of the questions. Yeah, so are you guys more interested in doing the recent ones or October November 21 to October November 21 to? Okay, that's one paper. And recent, okay, October November 21 to, right, that's the very recent one. Is that available? Yeah, Bob. So there's another class. Tomorrow we'll have paper 3 class. And then we'll also have paper 3 class on Saturday and Sunday. Sorry, which one? October, November, you said? Let me see if I can find that. October, November, May, June 20. So they don't have October, November, but I guess I can find it on some other website. Is that available? October, November 20. Oh, sorry, October, November. I am looking at 20. 21, 21. Right. I'll find it. So that's one paper. What's another paper? GCE guide. Okay, I'll look into it. Thank you, Elsa. So let's do 2 papers, right? May, June 17, 1, May, June 17, 1, and then May, June 17, 1, and the other one that Elsa recommended, October, November 21. So October, November 21 2 and May, June 17 1 right? So do these papers tomorrow so that on Saturday and Sunday we have a lot of questions to discuss, right? And even if you're doing some other papers as well and you want to, just take a note of what year paper was it and what questions was it, you just bring it to the class and we discuss it. No worries, right? So I'll see you then on Saturday and Sunday, both days, right? I'll communicate the timings with you, but do try to, the good thing about the online class, even if you are a little, somewhere outside, you can attend the class. So I will highly recommend if you do that, right? But it will be some time in the afternoon, post,